Just a special note here, even though this is the 4th episode, this was actually the first episode of We're Not Afraid of the Dark that me and my brother Ben recorded. So there's a little bit of history behind the show and a few mistakes here and there, but bear with us.
How's it going, guys?
So Ben, we had a lot of history with the show. I remember watching the pilot episode when it first aired, and that was Halloween night of 1991.
So I was 2 years old.
I probably don't remember that exactly.
Probably not.
What are some of your memories watching the show growing up?
I mean, it's really kind of fuzzy on them, so I don't remember very many, but I remember some. So as we watch them, I'm sure I'll get more memories of them. But it's been a long time.
It came on in Canada in 1990, that Halloween, but we had to wait a year in America to see it. And it came back in August of 1992. I remember the same thing happened with the show, All That. And it was months, if not a year, before they started the series over again. So I did watch the entire series in the original run, which is 5 seasons at 13 episodes each. Then I hit puberty. The show came back about 4 years later, and by that time I moved on to some more adult shows. Now, Ben, I know you said your memory's a little rough, but did you watch when the show came back? It's about 1999.
I mean, when we get further on into those seasons, I'm sure it'll either jog my memory or it'll be brand new. I don't really remember.
Yeah, because I remember the Goosebumps show came out in the mid to late 90s, probably around 96, 97.
Those were terrible.
Yeah, I would say Are You Afraid of the Dark is 10 times better. I mean, there's some weak episodes of this series, no doubt, but there's also some very, very strong ones. Goosebumps just had the more massive appeal because there was an entire popular book series.
Right.
Well, and then it became a TV show.
Are You Afraid of the Dark was like the Twilight Zone for kids.
Yeah, and funny you should say that because they're saying submit it for your approval at the time. And Rod Sterling of Twilight Zone did the same thing.
You know what? That does. I think you're right.
Yeah, but you said something funny earlier when we watched a few of these episodes about that approval system.
Yeah. Oh, they never approve it. They never say anything about, oh, yeah, we agree.
Yeah, maybe they're just showing up. Oh, and going back to the new run, and I say new even though it's been quite some time, I didn't see a single episode when the show came back. I saw like bits and pieces when our younger sister was watching them, but other than that, I never seen any.
Wait, season 7 came out in 2000?
Yes, and I mean, when it came back, it went through 2 seasons. So that's seasons 6 and 7.
Well, I can tell you right now, I probably never saw those, at least.
Yeah, and even when I went back, I've always looked at some of these episodes online over the years, and I always went towards the classic episodes. I never once thought, hey, maybe I should check this out, but we are going to do that in this podcast. Now, a little bit about the show in terms of finding it. It is extremely difficult to find right now, and I find that very surprising. And Ben, I'll talk to you a little bit later on about does this show hold up over the years. But this was a very, very popular show. You talk to anybody between about the ages of 25 and 35, and they will definitely say that they at least watched a few episodes of this show back when it was on Snick originally. They aired on Saturday nights at about 9:30. I remember it came on right after Ren and Stimpy.
Which, I mean, in my opinion, it should have been the other way around because Ren and Stimpy, my God, you look at that now, that was not for kids.
Oh, they were definitely pushing the boundaries. I mean, even Rocko's Modern Life kind of did some of the same things. Salute Your Shorts has also had very perverted scenes. They're making jokes about condoms and shit.
Yeah. I still have, I have my French Toast Man shirt. I was wearing that the other day.
Did you compliments on it?
It's hit or miss.
Yeah, you see, some of these more obscure, and Ren and Stimpy was one that's popular, but there's more obscure Nickelodeon shows out there. I really wonder how many people actually remember them, especially the references. In terms of finding this show, as of October 2017, you can buy episodes on Amazon and YouTube in America. There's a few DVD sets out there. Some were made in other countries, but there was never an official DVD release in America. So if you do find those, they're most likely rips. There's also a lot of bootleg sites out there that have carried the show over the years. Now, according to Wikipedia, the first episode of the series is The Tale of the Phantom Cab. However, we're not recording that one first. We're actually recording episode 4, which was the original pilot that aired. And this episode is much, much different than other ones in the series. So, Ben, what did you notice is different?
I mean, the intro is different from what I remember.
Yeah, it starts cold, so there's no intro. It's just the scene of what looks like a $10 fog machine in the kid's bedroom with a mythical creature coming in and scaring them. And the actual original intro was a skyline with a door going through it. The intro that we all remember has a few key imagery. And Ben, what do you remember from the original intro?
It's like you're in an attic. There's a doll, kids laughing, which is still creepy to this day. A rocking horse.
I've always wondered what exactly was that ugly ass clown in the attic, because that thing used to scare the shit out of me growing up.
Yeah.
But what was it? Was it a mannequin or a prop? That original intro only aired in about 8 episodes. And I'll probably link in the show notes to it so everybody can see it. After the creature in that first pilot episode appears in daylight, the entire Midnight Society is screaming. What did you notice about the scream these kids are doing?
Well, you're talking about in the dream scene, all those kids scream. Like Midnight Society wasn't screaming; it was the kid in the
they scream as
the
well.
story. I mean, who can tell a story that's going to make three kids hearing it scream? I mean, you're really doing something with that. But all those screams were pretty damn cheesy.
Yeah, there's much, much more scarier scenes in this series that I never heard the Midnight Society ever scream like that again.
Yeah, I think because they found out it was a wash. The kid in the dream scene changes facial expressions in his scream.
Oh, you'll find that the acting in some of these episodes is absolutely terrible. You think that this got someone's kid who worked at the production set to sit in one day and call it a day from there.
Yeah, they had to bring him to work, and they just said, use him. Adam, did this scare you as a child growing up?
You know, this episode, not so much. It did get my interest when I first watched it, but I mean, some of these episodes did scare the shit out of me. I had a really bad version of chlorophobic, which is the fear of clowns for a while. So I absolutely hated the second episode, which has the clown in it, even though there's some kind of sick fascination with it. And the Crimson Clown episode later on is also terrifying. But I also got scarred as a child watching A Current Affair and the story about some killer clown. It wasn't John Wayne Gacy, but someone else. There's also an episode called The Tale of the Dark Music, which has some creepy-ass mannequin in it. What about you, Ben?
Well, my fear, I don't particularly know if it's in Are You Afraid of the Dark. I'm sure they would touch on it, but I know Goosebumps did it. Night of the Living Dummy. Automatanophobia is the fear of not mannequins, but ventriloquist dummies. And as a kid, that was my fear.
Yeah, anything that can come to life on you usually gets kids, especially.
That Talking Tina episode on Twilight Zone was pretty bad. Killed the dad.
Yeah, back then they didn't care. I mean, even in the 90s, we had some pretty groundbreaking, edgy stuff. But nowadays, these kids are soft. I mean, you have a preteen living at home with you. So what kind of stuff is he watching nowadays?
I mean, I'm sure he stays away from the scary stuff because he still calls for his mom now, and here he is 10 years old.
Is there anything like this for kids nowadays? Like a scary anthology series?
I'm not sure. I mean, they did just bring back that Goosebumps thing with Jack Black, but I don't know if that was scary or Jack Black's not really
Yeah, I can't see him in a horror film.
Right. But you know what?
Yeah, I mean, it's like how Will Ferrell play like I don't know, the Jigsaw and Saw movies or something.
But see, Jim Carrey did the number 23, and that was actually really good. Like I enjoyed it.
Well, my girlfriend told me she was waiting on a table a few weeks ago, and some like 9-year-old was reading a book, and what book was it? Stephen King's It. So maybe these kids are taking a new direction lately. The story is based on a short story called The Monkey's Paw by W. W. Jacobs. It's been around for a long time, even at that time. There's been some other shows that did similar stories of it, such as The Simpsons. So the scene starts out with David telling the story of, I'm an audio editor, right? I'm used to going back and doing different takes and shit. And by the way, you will hear a lot of profanity in this show.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And most of it's come from me and Ben just arguing with each other most of the time.
Yes.
So the tale starts out with David telling a scene of mischief night. And Ben, what'd you notice about this scene?
Well, one, there's sneaking around, and there's no point in sneaking around. It's so well lit, you can see everything they're doing, and they're wearing bright ass clothes.
Yeah, I remember back when we did it was all black, even like black makeup.
Yeah.
You wear a hat just so you're not recognizable by your hair, and some of these pranks they're doing are kind of weak, like the shaving cream and stuff. I just remember egging and toilet paper's cars and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, we were awful kids.
Hey, but that was back before the internet. These kids have it easy now; they're all entertained.
Yeah, for now.
However, they make the mistake of going to Mrs. Clove's house, which is apparently off limits. And what do you notice about this character, Ben?
Well, Miss Clove nailed the senile old woman pretty well, but that laugh was pretty pitiful.
Yeah, whenever I saw older people get pissed off at kids growing up, they would usually yell at them rather than laughing at them or go chase them. But she's apparently demented or a witch of some sort, so maybe take the easy way out.
She was actually pretty young for being like an old woman. Like, she did not look like that old.
A fun piece of trivia, the woman who played that part is actually, was at the time, married to the actor who later plays Dr. Fink.
Who's Dr. Fink?
We need to refresh your memory on the show. We should have just watched the whole damn series and then did these. But...
Well, okay. I guess I'll learn something in our journey together.
Oh, we shall. All right, so a vase is broken in the process, and that become an important part later on. All right, so we have two kids here. One's Kevin and one's Dougie. And the next scene is a pretty weak costume, in my opinion, for Halloween.
Both are weak.
Yeah, I mean, the mask just looks like an old guy's mask, and then like a sheet he got out of the closet. I mean, it's kind of like the Charlie Brown cut hole thing.
But see, off mic, I told Adam that the mask looks like the villain character from the cartoon The Halloween Tree, which, I mean, I remember as a kid, but I don't really know if you remember that movie.
No, I don't remember watching that, and I heard about it, though, but then it come back after this episode, because this episode was filmed and aired in 1990.
I mean, we'd have to look up the dates, but I mean...
Hey, that's why we have the internet.
It could very well be a repurposed mask, just like the Captain Kirk mask painted white turned into Michael Myers' mask.
Yeah, the Halloween Tree came out in 1993.
Well, there you go.
Hey, maybe there's some kind of serious connection here. So we get a great glimpse of what a 90s household used to look like by some ugly-ass wallpaper, followed by some seemingly nice parents, although the dad seems to ignore his child.
We've all heard the check for your candy and have your parents look at it and all that. And it all stemmed from this dad who was also a lawyer, took out a $400,000 life insurance policy out on his 8-year-old kid, and they went trick-or-treating, and he poisoned his own son with like cyanide or something. And of course he's going to be the first one that's investigated, and he said, oh yeah, we took him trick-or-treating, and the candy must have been poisoned, and that's where it all stemmed from. And he eventually got arrested for it, but to this day, like, oh yeah, check for candy, it was a dad getting life insurance money on a son.
Yeah, it's pretty hardcore. I remember I've heard multiple stories about people getting life insurance on their spouse and then trying to murder them. So I guess you have to do what you have to do. So here we are, Halloween night, and these kids are trick or treating, and somehow get the brilliant idea to return to Miss Clove's house. Now, Ben, what problems do you see with this entire Halloween night scene?
What do you mean? Because I got nothing for that.
Oh, a problem I noticed was I can't remember exactly how it was in the 90s, but these kids start trick or treating when it's past nighttime. And I remember always starting like sunset and you have a curfew. Nowadays, by the time it's sunset, these kids are in bed.
Yeah.
They go to Mrs. Clove's door. She puts the door ajar just to take a glimpse at them. And once they say trick or treat, she kind of questions them. How this makes no sense because she later says she loves Halloween.
Yeah, I didn't catch that one.
Yeah, but of course she has no candy, even though she loves Halloween, so she has to go and get some around the house. You'd have some older people, like they forget your birthday or forget Christmas, so they just wrap up some shit that's laying around the house somewhere, like a grandfather clock or a china set or something. I remember getting a penny once from somebody trick-or-treating for. It's like,
I remember that.
Yeah, they just gave up all hope.
Or someone gave out sodas.
Hey, that's not too bad. I mean, you need something to drink when you're...
Nowadays, sodas are expensive, so we were making out.
Yeah, but after all those Mary Janes and Sweet Tarts, you got dehydrated.
Oh, man. By far, the worst Halloween candy are those orange and black, like, wrapped up. What is it? Peanut butter?
Yeah, some kind of butterscotch thing. I actually like them. I'm with a few people, but also I like black jelly beans and Good and Plenty.
Well, those are all right because you know what you're getting, but I don't even know what that stuff is.
Yeah, well, speaking of candy, I noticed the trick-or-treat bags that they have are kind of piss poor for the amount of time that they've been out.
They're pillowcases. They got pillowcases for...
Yeah, but this be the first episode. Maybe they're like, I'm not going to spend too much money on this episode. We just need some cheap-ass costumes. Let's just find some stuff from the thrift store.
Yeah, they used a sheet and like a dad's clothes to like simulate a bum.
So since she doesn't have any candy or any purse knives to give them, she decides to give them what is the whole plot point of this episode, which is the claw, which comes from a vulture.
All right, did you catch that? I don't know if it was Doug or who's the other one? Kevin.
Kevin, yes.
Kevin from like Home Alone. Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when they're when they're out by the road, he says, "It's made of wood. Is it a vulture claw, or is it made of wood?"
Yeah, and that's two different kind of materials there. Yeah, they weren't thinking a lot of things through here, but that's also where we got our first wish, because he wishes that they could go home.
Oh, let me cut you off.
Okay.
Prior to that, when she gives it to them, Doug says the line, 3 wishes apiece or 3 wishes for both of us. It's the same goddamn thing.
Let me think about that for a minute.
Not
3 wishes each will be 6, or 3 wishes for the both. Yes. So it
would also be 6.
Yeah, it should have been
3 wishes between us, not for the both.
Or to share, yes. There's also a problem with that, because in the original story, and I think some other variations, the fingers are supposed to move when they make a wish.
Right.
Have it left. And I wrote down how many wishes they actually make in this episode. And it is actually 5.
Hold on now.
Let's come back to this.
No, hold on. We'll talk it out right now.
Okay.
I wish that we could be done trick-or-treating. That's one.
That's the first one.
I wish... What's the other one? What's the
medal?
No. He made... Oh, yeah. He did make that for that. All right.
That's
the medal. Then he wishes... Well, yeah. He cuts it off. The other one doesn't get a third wish. Or, yeah.
Wait, the next wish after the medal is Kevin says he wished that Dougie's parents
were gone.
Yeah, we're gone. So that's wish 3.
He wishes his grandfather was there.
That's wish 4.
Okay. So he cheats him out of his third wish because he makes his third wish. The other guy doesn't get to make his third wish. So you are right with the 5.
Because the fifth one is they wish that they
He
never
he
broke the vase.
apologized and said that he was sorry he broke the vase. So the other guy never got his third wish. You're right with the 5.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So once he makes the wish, the first one, which is they wish they could go home and lose the trick-or-treat candy, apparently the claw doesn't care about the order. Because if they care about the order, wouldn't they go home and then, like, I don't know, someone breaks their house and steals their fucking Halloween candy? Because they get caught up with a teenage gang who are wearing some cheap-ass mask. And I don't know why they would just be by themselves out there doing the mask unless they're up to something. Maybe it's coming in disguise.
Where were their parents trick-or-treating anyway? We never, as kids, were out unattended, even in the, even in the 90s.
Yeah, plus where they're going. I mean, they're always going to some place where there's no other kids walking around at all trick-or-treating. And I remember, like, your trick-or-treating hours for a town are usually like 2 or 3 hours.
All the other kids on set are in front of a campfire.
Yeah, that's true. But if you have a small amount of time, you're going to go to some suburban place where there's like door to door you can go to. You're not going to go, oh, hey, let's go walk down deserted streets.
Where old Miss Clove lives.
Yeah, or go to an abandoned park where there's a bunch of junkies and people about to shoot up heroin or something. So anyway, one of them loses the candy. The guy, Dougie, who actually made the wish, does not lose his candy. He's actually seen with it when they're hiding in the trash cans. Did you pick up on that?
I did.
It's just Kevin who loses it. So that was another little plot hole right there. That's going to be most of our critique of the series. I think it's
picking apart.
Yeah, rather than having a great nostalgic trip back in time.
Yeah, now it's just going to be fun and bloopers.
Yeah, well, the next wish is he needs to beat someone in a race. So even though they had a really bad Halloween, it's a great idea to bring that fucking claw to school tomorrow.
Yeah. They didn't put much faith in it that night, but then I guess, over the course of the night, they decided this thing works. So Kevin makes the wish to beat Bostic.
Bosnick. Wait, Bostic. Yeah, Bostic.
Okay. So he makes the wish to beat him, and they get the teams from Wild and Crazy Kids to fill in the rest of the race, and so this mystery dog runs out, and Bostic is apparently the only other one other than Doug to see this dog, even though all the kids are so close together.
Well, I thought the dog originally, before I watched this and just going off memory, I thought the dog attacked him, but it just runs in front of him, and he does one of the weakest
rolls.
Trips. Yeah, I mean, how could you, like, I think he breaks his knee or breaks his leg.
They say he breaks his leg, but he's holding his knee when.
Yeah, well, how does that be possible? Because that fall, like, I mean, if you fall downstairs or like you get it caught in something, then maybe. But he just like does a tumble. I don't think he'd be that injured. I mean, the dog seriously bit him and like really fucked him up. I mean, that'd be some serious shit. But the dog's just nowhere to be the dog's nowhere to be found. But the guy looks at the tree again.
Yeah, he'd be more worried about rabies and shit than
But also, my thing is that they feel sorry about the situation just happened. I remember the kids we went to school would be fucked up about this. They'd be like, hey, I just want this medal. Fuck you. I don't care if you're in the hospital or not.
They were dark times.
Yeah, well, apparently these kids have a conscience. So that brings us to them feeling a little more remorseful. Kevin's at Dougie's house showing off his medal. Dougie's feeling about pensive with this. He wants this thing to be gone. He keeps saying he wants his Gramps to be there and keeps talking about his folks.
Kevin makes the wish for Doug to lose his folks because they've been arguing over, is it really happening or, in disbelief. But apparently he's holding it and it makes the wish.
I don't know if it's just this episode. I do know that there are people who are assumed to die in future episodes. But the conversation that happens on the phone with the police saying had his parents in the hospital, they never say like their parents are dead. they say that Gramps is dead, but they never mention any characters dying. So they could just be hospitalized, but I think it's assumed.
Right. Also, I don't. I'm pretty sure if you were a little kid, I'm like, what age would we put on them?
Probably about 10, 11,
10, 11? Okay.
maybe 12.
So you're still a minor. You wouldn't call on the phone a minor knowing he's home alone because his parents are in the hospital. You would drive down there and you would get that kid.
Yeah, these are different times. I mean, I think it's just going to be the assumption these kids are hard back then.
Oh, yeah. They're so hard. They just stay there by themselves and cops can just call them and not inform them in person.
Yeah, but they're not hard enough to actually realize they should have made the final wish much, much earlier. But I guess Kevin was still trying to get his way with things. So after this bad news, they have a little tumble fight, and Dougie makes the wish that Gramps would know what to do, and he wishes he was back. So then it gets a little creepy because they see a car that looks like it's from about the 1950s pull up, and they're afraid because Gramps is dead.
I'd still want that car, though. It's like one of my dream cars.
Yeah, I was also thinking this, though. Was Gramps drive this old-ass car I'm assuming he died recently, considering he's still fresh in the kid's memory. So was he driving this car from the 1950s and the early 90s? Or is it Gramps' dead body from the 50s coming back? Because we have a lot of scenes in the series later on where people are like back in the 20s and they look just like they're in their 20s. They're not aged or anything like that. So why are they so afraid of him coming back at this point? As obviously wasn't cremated. So it's going to be baby Gramps from 1950 or just dead body in the car?
Well, I mean, they were worried about a ghost and not a zombie. I mean, wouldn't a ghost not have to drive?
Yeah, I mean, they could be a lot.
We should have watched Ghost Cab first. This would have cleared things up.
Well, the thing is, this is an anthology series. Like, nothing in the episodes other than some returning characters like Dr. Fink and Sardo. Nothing's continuous other than the Midnight Society.
Yeah.
And their stories. And that's why we have a lot of repeat characters. That the guy who plays Bostic is actually in the first episode playing a character named Denny. But the final wish is he wishes that they never broke the vase and... What part did they say?
And he's sorry.
Oh, yeah, they're sorry they broke in. They wish that it never happened. And, of course, things return back to normal. They're going to knock on the door, and voila, Dougie's parents are back. You seem very happy after having a near-death experience.
Yeah, I mean, the mom's like, oh, it was a little dramatic. Like, she didn't give a shit. And for everyone to calm down and just have a great time, she says, let's go raid the fridge for some ice cream. I don't know about you guys, but my ice cream's in the freezer, not the fridge.
Yeah, well, anyway, to a kid's heart, is either pizza or ice cream. You say pizza party, ice cream party, they're there. I feel much, much better. To finalize this episode, there's another knock on the door, and rather than giving them... Oh, wait, it was broken at the time. I was going to say give them the vase, but now the vase is repaired. It's assumed that Miss Clove just gave them the vase. There's a card in there, and it just says, trick or treat. And our Midnight Society just wraps up this episode.
For an old bag, she's fast as shit.
Yeah, well, I also like David, who's telling the story, says the end. And there was no discussion about the story. Gary says, I declare this meeting of the Midnight Society is closed. There's like, oh, that was great. They usually have a discussion at the end. I think there may have been something cut.
Well, one of the kids did say, give me $1 million and I'll take my chances.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask you this, Ben, at the end of every episode. Was this episode scary?
Then or now?
Both.
Then I'm sure it would have been. I remember we went to some play and they did the monkey paw thing, but like in the end of that, they wished their son would come back, and he like was at some newspaper factory and like went through the turbines, like he was mangled up, and they wish for him to come back. Then they wish for him to, when he's knocking on the door, for him not to be there. Like, that was scarier than, this. And so,
just going back in time, I remember watching Nickelodeon when I was about 3 years old. And back then, Pinwheel was on, and they had a bunch of international cartoons on there. Then they later started a lot more original programming. And I think this was Nickelodeon's first actual, like, scary horror TV show, because the rest were comedy or cartoons. I mean, can you remember anything that was scary at the time, like late 80s, early 90s Nickelodeon?
Not particularly.
Yeah,
I mean, I know they would do like Real Monsters, but I don't know what date that was, and that wasn't really
much later.
That wasn't scary.
Yeah, and this was produced by a Canadian company called Cinar, and it was aired on YTV. And again, this first aired in Canada in 1990, pilot episode America 1991, then it showed the following year, but these had been airing in Canada, so what we're seeing is from 2 years ago. Luckily, there wasn't too much of a change between late 1990 fashion and 1994 fashion with grunge era.
Well, that's like Power Rangers.
Oh, it was on Japan.
Yeah, and fun fact, real quick, the Black Power Ranger has 9 fingers. So when he's, they take the footage from Japan. When he's a ranger, he has all 10 fingers.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, you said that the play, and that Monkey Paw short story is a classic. That's just one end. There's a lot of variations, and it does have some very good points in it that could have some evil and horror themes behind it. And you said it's not scary now. If watching this episode as an adult now, I did enjoy it. There are some corny scenes as we discovered. Yeah,
clearly.
Like if this were produced today in 2017, which we're recording this, they would definitely change this up a lot. It would be a lot more fast-paced. There would be some probably not so much abrasive things of parents dying, I don't think.
I mean, it might be, but they might, I'm pretty sure the race scene would be a little more graphic than, now than then.
No, yeah.
Speaking of that music that was playing during that, dude, it reminded me like Top Gun.
Oh, that was a straight up 80s, early 90s
ballad
action stuff. Yeah, I'll go into more in depth about the music later on. I'm not trying to burn my bridges because I'm actually contacting the composer of the theme song to do a remix of it for this podcast. So I don't know if he scored the episode. However, I'm not going to talk too much shit on it right now.
Well, I'm not. I who's talking shit?
Oh, yeah, Top Gun fan.
So good.
Yeah, just like the Commando and Rambo kind of montages.
Yes, love them.
Thanks again for listening to an episode of We're Not Afraid of the Dark. It's produced by modulationstudios at gmail.com. Feel free to subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube, wherever you get your podcast.